Good afternoon. I'm Randy McGraw with Hub International. It's a pleasure to be back in San Antonio. Today I'm going to go through the presentation from the association on the health benefits. So thank you for the extra time off between the last session where we talked about health benefits and today. I'm happy to let you know the association has spent a lot of time, a lot of discussions with their bargaining team, surveying their mayors, reassessing everything that we've exchanged back and forth along the way. And they want everyone to know that they do recognize the importance of controlling costs and staying within your targets for your general fund. We've heard the concerns over what we've been calling the legacy plan, or the plan of benefits that they currently have offered to them, which is caused some discussion and concern too, even in the proposals back from the city, that given the rich benefit and the cost of that plan, they can subject the city to the Cadillac tax in the year 2018. In fact, the last proposal from the city was proposing that this plan be offered with premiums that would be due, but only for 1 year and then removed. So we'd like to think that our plan and our proposal today addresses how to control the rising costs as we go forward, how to make sure that you eliminate any concerns about the Cadillac tax, and to create greater cost sharing and consumer-driven behavior with the membership that uses this plan. Yes, in general, the concept in terms of just taking a step back from the medical proposal by itself, but you'll see too that in today's discussion there's also a wage proposition, and it's more of a total compensation based package. And we'll get into the discussion of the wage side of the equation after we go through the health. So to recap where we left off, October the 7th, the city's proposal came back with proposed premiums for the legacy plan, payroll deductions for what we've been calling the value plan, or a new plan that was introduced, and then a plan design with health saving account contributions for a consumer-driven health plan. And in the proposal from the city was the consideration of a $2,000 contribution toward the health saving account, which would be available to plan participants that participate in the consumer-driven health plan. And maybe we haven't totally understood your numbers, but the way I understood it was you had estimated that the cost of that program was about $11,000 per employee per year, which, as you benchmarked before, the city's civilian population is around 7,500. The last proposal from the association was around 12,000, and this was at a point somewhere in the middle. I understood your $11,000 figure to be just the cost of the health plan, and I understand after talking to Mr. Morris that that was including your contributions for health savings.
As far as that second.
Yeah, that second bullet is incorrect. Yeah, you're right. The 11th, that was 10,948, and it included the $2,000 contribution for the first year.
Okay. So, and I didn't see the math to back that up. The reason that I was thinking the 11,000 was the benchmark was when Mr. Morris and I had met prior to your bringing that proposal back. $11,000 was what the spreadsheet was showing without the HSA contribution. So there must have been some more discussions on your side. I think part of what the association is prepared to do is to be a leader as opposed to just a follower. If this is the trend of where the country is going, and the membership is growing year after year, and they understand that it's a huge communication process to their own membership, because for the longest time they've had the benefits of the legacy plan. But rather than to phase it in over time, go all the way to the finish line, offer the consumer-driven health plan, we'll go through the proposed benefits, etc., so you have a better understanding of how that would be more or less sold to the membership so that they understand how the benefits work. But that's what they feel is a good direction to go. The proposed benefits that we recommend in 2015 would be an individual deductible of $2,600, a family limit of double that at $5,200. We have a table with other out-of-network benefits, etc. The contribution toward the health saving account, we'd ask for that to be $2,000 per employee. That's what the city had on the table on October the 7th. This middle part of my slide is different from yours. We've got a table at the back that shows a full range of different cost assumptions, anywhere from 25% up to 40%. So you can see the math behind contributions versus HSA, what you might call the premium, and the health saving account contributions. And when I get to that, we'll spend some more time on that as well. This plan would be close to a 70-30 split in terms of value, in terms of cost sharing with the membership, which was one of the goals of the city. By going all the way to the health saving account and only offering one plan, you remove what's referred to in the industry as adverse selection. So adverse selection is when there's small differences between the benefits that are offered. People that have a high level of ability to predict or know what their health care expenses in the next year can pick a plan that benefits them and allows them more or less to game the system, and that causes costs to go up. By only offering one plan, we eliminate adverse selection. Most insurance carriers, when they offer multiple plans, they load their rates 2 to 3% for adverse selection. So by removing the choice, we eliminate that added pressure on costs as people try to game the system and bounce back and forth from plan to plan. As mentioned from both parties in the past and from the city's own experience, as you migrated people into your higher deductible plans and your consumer-driven health plan, you've seen your costs only increase. They've actually decreased for some point in time. I think the last numbers that you had available were showing 3 to 5% inflation in cost. So by going in this direction, we'll help the city gain control over the costs, and you'll stop these periods of time where you had 20%, as you mentioned at the last meeting. Removing the legacy plan, as I said before, eliminates it just totally eliminates the possibility of a Cadillac tax for that plan. So this is slide number 10 is a little more detail of the benefits. Basically, all you can really see is consumer-driven health plan. We've just illustrated the proposed out-of-network benefits as well.
Randy, let me ask you something. If I read this correctly, you're proposing 0 premiums for anybody, so no police officer would pay a premium.
Correct. Actually, this is your proposal from, with the exception of the benefits here.
Yeah,
These are your proposals from 10-7, and all we did was tweak the benefits everywhere.
Well, it's not all you did, you removed 2 other plans, but let's talk about this. And in those benefits you tweaked, if I understand it, you've got the city paying $2,000 to every employee as part of an HSA.
Correct.
Per year. And our proposal was only the first year to drive people toward that plan. With the tweaking of the benefits and you having the $2,600 individual annual deductible and the maximum individual out-of-pocket at $2,600 as well, an employee who was just covering him or herself would have maximum exposure for health care of $100 per year?
That would be $600.
I'm sorry, $600. That would be it.
That would be the net out-of-pocket expense. There's only about 350 single participants in the plan right now.
All right.
The majority of their membership is in the dependent category. So on page 11, we put a chart showing the math for how we come up with the average contribution per employee per year. We've also inserted a line there to show the net funding level for the plan, as well as an HSA at $2,000 per person. And we give you a whole range of discount factors to look at as how that might be benchmarked relative to the legacy plan that you have right now. So for example, in your own practice with your civilian population, going from the new value to the consumer-driven, you're discounting the rate 32%. We're starting at a level even higher than that. So it could approach, depending on the cost, it could approach the 40, 42%. And that's the other thing that I want to be sure and emphasize too, is that we've been using different terms in our dialogue and discussion, but I want to make sure that we understand what the definition is when one party says 7,500, for example, or when you're looking at this chart and you might say 11,000. Because the 7,500 is driven by the cost of the plan. And when we say 11,000 under this one, or let's say we're just looking at the green bar, and we pick the total PEPY with the health saving account at 11,578, that's based on contributions, not necessarily cost. And so while you may have adopted a strategy that says my contributions reflect the cost, they don't always do that. So this isn't part of your handout either, but this would be to emphasize the point. So in 2014, this is the city's actual contribution. So in other words, this would be comparable to the table that we were just looking at, because this takes your enrollment by plan year-to-date through June, and it tells you what the city is actually contributing each plan, whether you were hired before or after January 1 of 09, and then it boils all the plans down to total. So you can see right now, the city's average contribution for a civilian through June is about $8,400 based on your illustrated rates and city contribution per year. And then you got, on average, out of all three plans, and pre and post 109, another $1,380 average contribution coming in from employees. So according to your funding numbers, this would say you're funding the plan at about $9,800 per employee per year. But the cost that you keep talking about is $7,500. And that's okay, because you need to fund for contingencies, and perhaps you've had some deficits and things like that too. But just because the rate says 11,000 doesn't necessarily mean that the cost is 11,000. That's why they call it conservative.
I want to bring this back a little bit. This is what's aggravating. The city has Premier, we keep it, we drop it. Now we got a new value, now we got a consumer. Then it was like, well, you can have the legacy, but only 12 months. Then we're going to have a new PPO. Then we got a consumer. But this is almost a direct quote from Buddy last week. The beauty of people getting, talking about consumer driven, the beauty of people getting educated, will get educated and they will like it. The vast majority of officers won't use the plan. They don't use the bulk of the plan. We support no cost to the plan for the officer. Entire market headed to this model. 1 to 10% today, rapidly moving to 25 to 30% because of Obamacare. Now, we hear what you said to us. We said, we don't want to have a Premier and you end, then you got to drop it, then you got to change. We don't want to have a legacy, then you drop it, then you got to change. You know what, we're going to rip the Band-Aid off. Your consultant said this is where it's going. We thought, why not? Why have legacy for 12 months and make a year from now someone's got to switch? Why have a PPO if we have a consumer driven and that's where the world is going? We'll go. We'll go. We'll make it work. It's not the city's concern, except for dollars and cents. It's not your concern whether we have choices or no choices. That's the choice of the union to decide what they're going to offer to the members for ratification. You have every right to argue the cost. But to argue that this employee A would be better off or not, that's our problem. So I take exception to the line of questioning. We brought you an honest proposal we spent 2 weeks on based on exactly what you told us. Now, if you're not making enough money off of the PPO and you need it as a revenue source, then be honest about that and say it, that I need that PPO to generate the cash. If you don't like our consumer driven, give us a counter proposal, with all due respect.
No, with all due respect, we will give you a counter.
That'll be fine.
But I don't think it's fair to say that what type of insurance plan the members of the bargaining unit have is solely the concern of the union. They are the employees of the city of San Antonio. So it is a concern for the city as to what type of plan they have. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
And Buddy's statements about statistically employers moving to those consumer-driven plans was never in the context of only offering a consumer-driven plan.
But if you want everyone to go there, and you said, you will raise rates to drive them. You just use the word. We're going to drive people this direction. We're going to do this to drive them. Hell, we'll just go there. We don't need to be driven. So if you wanted, and the other uncertainty in your deal is that you don't know what the migration numbers are. I think the experts know in the ballpark, but we don't know. So if we pick a plan, and 100% of the people go over under your plan with no premiums and join it, then you're going to scream, well, now our numbers are all messed up. We don't want the uncertainty of not knowing where the migration is. We're okay with this plan, and if we can convince our members that it's a good deal, that's our job. And it's a health care plan that you have on the table. We're just talking cost. You offered no premium, consumer-driven plan to 100% of the officers. You offered it. Period. You're just assuming they're not going to do it.
We offered it, but not with the benefits that you have.
That's a money argument, Jeff.
Let me
You can
finish.
make the money argument.
I will make the money
Yes.
argument, but we did not offer it with the so-called benefit tweaks that you made today.
That's legit.
And it is a money argument. And I'll deal with the money after you take a caucus, and we'll come back and we'll give you a response to your
Yes.
proposal.
Yes.
But to somehow imply that you're giving us what we want and we didn't try to give you what you want. You might recall, you proposed the 3-plan
I did.
auto with Legacy. We never wanted Legacy, but you proposed that.
That's right.
And as an accommodation, we made a counter-proposal to
That's
that
correct.
with your plan
Yes.
structure of the 3 plans. We think and have always thought it's best for the employees of the city to have a choice. We've never proposed a 1-plan option. And if you take a very sick employee or someone with particular medical issues, we would like that employee to have a choice.
That's our right to bargain that benefit, and we'll deal with the cost. It's not your decision on that. If you like them to have choice, but our members would prefer to all be in one plan together as they've been in the past, that's our choice.
It's not your choice.
It is our choice, and that's why we're bargaining.
I disagree.
Yeah.
Jason?
All right, Jason, you ready?
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll start on slide 15 in your packets. It's just a calendar of what our proposal is for the wage side. And it'll start July 1st. I assume that gives enough time for open enrollment and plan design through UHC and communications and education and all that stuff. So we're looking at July 1st for a 4% base pay raise, and that would be effective for the first year. Effectively, the cost of the city would be a 1.33, and of course it would continue going at 4% total base pay. And then elimination of probationary pay. We did that for a number of reasons. And then October 1st, we're looking at a 4% base pay raise in 2016, for fiscal year 2016 or October 1st of 2015. Then October 1st of 2016 for fiscal year 17, and 1% base pay. And a transition to simplification of longevity. I've got that on the next slide. And then October 1st of 2017, the 3% base pay for fiscal year 18, and then October 1st of 18, and 3% base pay raise for fiscal year 19.
Before you leave that slide, you said, with respect to July 1, 2015, we give enough time for open enrollment. Open enrollment currently is in January.
Well, I don't know what the timeline is. It's just an example of what we're looking at right now. If you're saying you can get it done by April, then get it done by April, or wherever you want to start the date.
I just tied the wage to when healthcare plan would be implemented. So we just picked the date of which we thought, if we're done, ratified, had open enrollment, this would be the first effective date we probably could get started on some fixed date before. But it's half a year into the calendar year for healthcare, a third of the year for wages. They're just an artificial number. We make it
And the half and a
be
third
April.
is because we're dealing with calendar and fiscal.
Yeah, well, because the healthcare, that'd be half a year, I just picked it, because it runs from July to January. And the budget runs from July to end of, first of October.
Just so we're clear, that the intent of your proposal is to have the proposed wage increase take hold at the same time healthcare is changed.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead.
On the next slide, slide 16, it's got the current language for longevity. It's arduous, it's hard. A lot of the associations that we've talked to, as far as Houston, Austin, places like that, they're always calling us for further clarification. So we propose a transition to longevity. And the proposal is each officer's base pay shall be increased by 0.75% on the anniversary date of each year in seniority for the first 24 years, in lieu of the state mandated $4 per year of service at a max of 25. So effectively, officers that are at year 24 would get the 18%, and then from then on they would stay at the 18%. There would be no further escalation beyond what the current rate is. And that's the gist of it right there.
If you look at the sheet, what I've done on the sheet is the left part that has the blue heading. That is our proposal made on October 7th. Total cost you see down the bottom is $10,948. The union had proposed prior to this proposal that we retain the legacy plan, have a value plan, and have a CDHP. So we, in the format we thought the union wanted, we made that proposal. Scenario 1 in the yellow is a way we could do what the union proposed today with one plan being a CDHP and stay within the cost that we can afford. So if you look at that one, and it's basically, it doesn't have your tweaks on benefits, et cetera, but if you look at that proposal, and it's got some different benefits, and the premium level, that comes to $10,934. And it has a $1,000 per employee HSA contribution. If you recall, the October 7th proposal from the city and the union's proposal today had a $2,000 HSA cost for all 5 years. Our proposal had only had a $2,000 HSA contribution for year 1. Union's proposal today also, what it says tweaked, we say is majorly changed benefits. But anyway, we tried to take what you presented today and put it in what we thought we could do for the $10,900 range cost. Now, scenario 2, the third thing on this page. We took a look at what could we do if we didn't have the legacy plan, but only had CDHP and value. We do think that the city's employees should have a choice. We do think that the city's employees should pay premiums. So we are proposing as another option, scenario 2, which keeps a per employee cost to the city of $10,929 as a $1,500 contribution if the CDHP is selected, and has premiums for dependent coverage under both plans. You could structure this in a way, and we looked at it, that had no premiums for the CDHP, but we thought that that pushed up the cost of the value plan too much. So we are willing to do any of these 3 scenarios. We are also willing to do a modified version at the $10,900 level of the 4-city proposal that we initially made. As you recall, we made a proposal to have a value type plan and CDHP, with the value type plan being higher than the average of Houston, Dallas, Austin, and Fort Worth. And all of those cities have basically civilian coverage for their police officers. So this is what we are proposing for your consideration. I should clarify the $1.6 million number that Jason, you asked a question about. That really includes police and fire because they're both on the same health line.
You gonna break out?
No, I don't, but we can get it to you. On page 2 of this handout is the wage proposal that we made last time. You'll note that it has a total increased cost over 3 years of $22,400,000. Compare that to the cost of the wage proposal made by the union, and there's quite a difference. We do not think we can go any higher than $10,900 per employee for health. And with this wage package, along with the other things that we've proposed, including elimination of the legal pre-fund plan, some modifications to tuition reimbursement and the mileage for cars, along with those other things, we think that that composition is a deal that we can do. We just cannot do more within the 66%.
Almost 1/3 of companies surveyed by the National Business Group on Health expect to offer such a plan to consumer driven as their only option for, so it's 1/3 for 2015. That represents an increase of 50% in the number of companies taking that approach this year, which is
We'll look at that and
consumer
see.
driven only.
We'll see who surveyed. Does it say anything in there about whether they're without premiums?
No, I mean, say that.
Does it?
No, it does. They probably do or don't. I don't know. But let's go back to the original premise. You offered us consumer-driven with no premium, no prohibition on 100% of the officers going to that plan, and now it's a bad thing. I don't know over here what money you think you have to make off the PPO. You offered, if I took your deal today that you had on the table,
It's still on the table. Do you want it?
no. But I'm telling you, 100% of the people could go.
Could.
Without premium.
Could.
Yes.
But the experts, yours
Yes.
and ours,
Yes.
said 20%.
Well, they may be right, they may be wrong.
They asked me to.
What was your number?
The way I do it.
What was your number?
I price it based on the assumption that what to do if 100% of people enroll in every plan.
But you didn't have an assumption of what you thought was likely?
No, because, and I explained this a couple of meetings ago too, and that is, if you set the funding to generate the total covered cost of the plan, then it doesn't matter which one goes, because that person carries their cost of health care with them. And when you trade it away for higher deductibles or out-of-pocket expense in lieu of a premium exchange, then it all comes out in Washington's even. So under and that's why I kept answering the question the same way to you, is I don't have an assumption how many did it, because it's going to depend on what you do in the end. But if you price it properly, it doesn't matter. Because as they move from one plan to the other, they trade away a fair trade for benefit reduction or the cost increase. And if you do that on the whole population, you'll be just fine. That's why people keep hiring.
I'd like you to, I know we've had this discussion about math, and we're going to try to do something about it in the interim to get on the numbers. Tell me how you came up with our offer being 70% of the general fund budget. Is that this fiscal year, 2015?
I said, when I said that, 3 years from now.
Okay, in 3 years, did you add in all the growth of the city, 4.7 growth, new money coming in?
Maria.
Huh?
Maria can answer
We estimated growth and revenue of 4%.
I'm sorry.
We estimated growth and revenue of 4%.
But you grew 4.7 this year? And that, I'm just guessing, that's what I thought. What was the growth of the city projected for this budget? 4.7, wasn't it?
Compared to what?
I'm just asking if that's what your projection
You
is.
have a number, so that's not my.
I'm asking you, I had read somewhere that the projected growth of the city, new revenues, is 4.7%.
What we estimated between our re-estimate for fiscal year 2014 to the adopted budget is about 3.7%.
And what did you project for next year?
What we have on the table today projected a 4% growth.
Okay,
For
so in
2016.
total appropriations from fiscal year 14, fiscal year 15, you went from 988 million to 1047.
Those are
That's a
expenses, not revenue.
5.9% growth.
But you asked revenue, right, or are you asking?
Well, I'm asking how he says, here's the union offer, let's cut it, we'll cut it into 3 pieces, 3 years. That's going to grow the public safety budget by 4%, and you're going to have a 4% growth in new revenue, because as revenue goes up, what we've got on the table is a flat amount. That should, even if it bulged here, it'd come back. I just don't know what your math is, Jeff.
Maria knows, but I mean, you're going to have costs for new officers. I mean, it's not
Wait
just.
a minute. We don't bargain those things.
No, but you're asking about the number.
But, so if you're projecting, you're hiring nobody this year, plus holding positions, nobody knows. So if you're just adding your projections, I would like next time for you to bring me how you came up with that number.
We will do that.
Good.
But in fairness, we got your proposal, just got your proposal.
That's right.
And we ran a quick number. I
That's
told
right.
you that.
That's right.
And I told you it was the
Yes.
3-year number, and we will give you everything that's in it.
And what's aggravating isn't that, I recognize that. What's aggravating is to take these political messages and just throw them around like they're fact. 70%, if you're going to exceed the 66, we only bargain over 75% of the police side of the public budget. 25% we have no control at all. I think we only bargain over 30% of the whole general fund budget. So what we've offered on the table in the life of the 5-year deal will be less in the growth of the city if we just use projections. And we'll go in. So what we're putting on, the city will still be able to pay the contract, still have excess new money coming in under our projection. These are made-up numbers we don't control. And I know this has been going on for 9 months, but the truth is, when you move the park police into the budget and add 13 million, you can't charge it off to us on our contract. We have to take less wages because you made a decision to overflow the bucket.
They were.
They were in 1 year earlier than the manager raising it as an issue the next year. Oh, you're over. But it's never been in the police budget in the past. So we're saying
That's not true, Ron.
it went in 13. It went in 13,
It's
didn't
not
it?
true.
When did it go in?
It's technically not part of the police department budget.
Then
It's
does
still
it,
in the Parks Department's budget.
are you counting it to
And
see the
when she
66?
does a historical to the council on 10 years
Yes.
of public safety, she does an apples-to-apples comparison.
Okay.
She pulls out that portion of
Okay.
park police and adds it to the general fund portion of the police department.
So we're not
We
being
balance
charged
that.
in
It is an apples-to-apples
66% for the 13
Don't
million.
blame the park police and the $13 million over there and try to hide any of the
I'm not hiding
money.
any money. I'm not hiding
Yeah,
anything.
you are.
Is the 66% that you're saying we're seeing include
Yes, it does.
13 million?
Yes, that
Well, then
does.
you poured the water in the bucket.
No, we didn't.
Of
No, we
course you
didn't.
did.
It's an apples
We're
to
not
apples
bargaining
comparison,
for them.
and it goes back there for the last 10 years. But you don't bargain for the fuel expense.
No, I don't. You put that in. But I'm saying
But your rate, but this proposal, and Maria will show it to you.
Yes.
She's got it laid out. It's in a nice format. She needs to go back and
Yes.
double check it. She made no assumptions on increasing
Yes.
the number of police officers, which isn't realistic.
I understand.
And we still reach that point in the 3rd year.
But Eric, that also includes vacancies, and it doesn't show any attrition. So let's be fair about fair.
But we're not arguing
It
it.
does.
I want to get to what it costs. And then we can say, I don't want to pay it, I want to pay it.
We gave you the dollars.
I'm calling, I don't always agree with the numbers.
1% is 2.6 million. It's
Okay,
not hard.
I understand. And we don't think what we're offering, what we have the ability to bargain with, is excessive. We think that what we put on the table stays under the revenue growth of the city, and we think it's a fair deal. So I want to get to where we're talking about real math and quit throwing numbers around we don't control. If you want to say what percentage of our contract grows, we're okay with that. We should have a real number. But just making up these other things
Not a
that when you're
made-up number.
overflowing, well, the 70% is not, I don't think it's gonna be true. Because I don't think it has the right projections in it to hit 70%. It's not gonna throw
It's not
the.
a made-up number.
It is.
Well, it has to
It's
be
a short-term
short-term.
projection, which is the same as the
Well, let's just agree that we're gonna work on the math.
Well, let's just agree that the proposal you put on the table, the wage proposal, was more than what it was on September 23rd.
And it may be,
Yeah,
it may be.
that's,
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm always okay. I mean, you have your right to your positions, that you represent the city and you have your position. I'm okay with that.
Why would you go backwards?
I'm not going backwards. We tried to move over to a plan. I don't want to go back through all of that. Because we thought, and I have exact quotes of y'all, this is where you want to go. I didn't think about how much money you wanted to make off of PPOs. You never had a premium on there for that. And I have his quote, the city's position is no premiums on the consumer driven. Now, you could put the caveat and the asterisk, well, I meant that if you, only 20% of you go. But we have the ability to go at 100% under your proposal. And that's what I'm upset about, is that that's what you put on the table. And then they come out and go, well, if you go there, we want to take you to pay a premium. But you didn't care if we paid a premium the first time. That was your position. And we tried to follow that in good faith. We spent a lot of time thinking, well, maybe we ought to just go to consumer driven and we won't have all these late. We started off on a good premium. Now, you disagree with that? I'm okay with it. But I think what deteriorates is when people start throwing out things I think are political arguments. The cost of the contract, we should agree, is the cost. I want to pay it, I don't want to pay it. I'm okay with it. So,
but Ron,
yeah.
that's one of the things that we're trying to guard against as we go through negotiations. That's 66%. And I know that you guys didn't agree with that number last fall in the Legacy Task Force, but that's what we're measuring against. We've got a council policy and council direction, and that's how we prepare the budget. So we're not going to be able to forget about that on this.
That's benchmark number. That number is benchmarked in the budget. You can say that's your direction, you don't want to exceed it, but that number is flexible over what that cost will be. I know it balances out, but the truth is, we can only bargain over what we can bargain over. Your choice is on other things, to say we need you to take less money because we want to go buy other things. We didn't set that limit. I'm okay with 66%. That's the choice. But we're bargaining over our agreement, what we control, but we're being told we need money back from you because we have decided to put more stuff in the bucket, and that's where I need the money. That's the dishonesty in this discussion.
It's not.
It is. In a political discussion, it gets confusing.
No, it's
I'm not saying you're dishonest. I say that's the dishonesty in this discussion, is that we don't control that. We are responsible for what we put on the table, what it costs, and whether it's a value to the taxpayer. And so I'd like to get back to that, and let's see if we can get a deal. I'm not discouraged. I think we have a lot of disagreements. Oh, we'll go back and talk about it, but it's part of the process.
Well, I hope you heard in all the discussions that 10.9 is our number on health.
That's the number you have presented. I understand your position. It is not the final number. I sat through the council sessions. I heard a councilman say it's benchmarked. That's been the process in prior bargaining.
What's
So
in the budget is
What was
10.
the place
the
of
budget can be amended on any given council day, period. New monies are coming into the city and can be allocated. You have to come up with a number. You never bargain the exact number on anything because you don't know what it's going to be at the end of the year. You're guessing.
But Ron, the placeholder in the budget was a little over 10,000.
Yeah.
We're already at the.
I understand, if you can be at 9, you can be at 12. That's just a personal
That's
decision.
a political. That's a political.
That's
statement.
correct, and we
That's a
agree,
political
and we
statement.
agree, and we agree. But to say we have no more money than 10.9, that's not true. It's a question they may choose not to do it. But there's not any law that says because I adopted on September 18th, I can only spend 10.9. That's not true, it's never been true in the history of the city.
Goes down the letters.
We all, that is what it is. It is
That's a
what
lot
it
of
is.
political comments being made here.
No, but is it not true?
There are choices, and so the council direction to us has been 66%, which I'll share with you, and you guys know this, is a higher percentage than other major Texas cities. But nevertheless,
Yeah.
that was the line that we had to deal with.
And we accept
And
it.
there's a lot of need, and you guys know that, and I'm not gonna go into all that, because you heard it all. That's what we've gotta deal with.
I understand.